The moon hung low over the rooftops, as if it had glanced into the narrow streets of my little town by chance, casting them in cold silver light. I walked alone, without any particular destination, simply propelled by the quiet and the rustle of my own steps. My heart was beating a little faster, because the night in a small town always carried a hint of mystery that I rarely noticed during the day. I stopped at the intersection of Cobb Street and Lincoln Avenue when I noticed someone had stopped across the square as well. She was standing there, as if unsure which way to go, her head slightly tilted, and the lamplight caught her reddish hair as it fell over her shoulders. I don't know why, but I walked over. "Hi," I said, a little nervously, not used to speaking to strangers in the middle of the night. She looked up and smiled. There was something bold and a little bitter in that smile, as if she knew more than she let on. "Hi, do you wander here often at night? Like me, you can't sleep?" she asked. I chuckled softly. "I guess so. I like it when the town is awake, even if it looks empty." She nodded, then, unexpectedly, said, "Me too. I only recently realized how wonderful it is to walk through the town at night in the summer, when there's no one on the streets. You don't seem like a maniac or a street thug. I noticed you too back in the square," she said, looking me straight in the eyes. "Do you want to see something most people don't notice?" I agreed, though I had no idea what she meant. She led me through narrow alleys I had never walked during the day. The old streets, blanketed in a soft layer of leaves, looked as if time had stopped there. We laughed when I stumbled slightly, and I felt a strange warmth spread through my chest, a feeling that nothing and no one existed tonight except for the two of us. "This is my favorite place," she said, stopping by an abandoned building where the doors barely hung on their old hinges. "Here, you can forget about everything." I felt a thrill wash over me. There was something magical about her sharing this with me. We went inside, and the smell of old dust mixed with something woody immediately enveloped us. Moonlight filtered through the broken windows, casting strange shadows across the walls. "Do you see those graffiti on the wall?" she asked, leading me closer. "Everyone leaves a little piece of themselves here." I crouched down, studying the colors and chaotic lines. "They're like little stories?" I whispered. "Exactly," she smiled. "And now you're adding yours." Her words made me shiver, hitting straight to my heart. It felt like the night was just beginning, and that with her I could see the city in a whole new way. We stepped back outside and wandered further, accidentally stumbling into a small park where benches hid behind tall bushes. We sat down, and the silence between us wasn't awkward. It actually drew us closer. I watched her calm face, and realized that this wasn't just a night walk. It was the beginning of something bigger. "Do you often meet people like this?" she asked suddenly, but her tone wasn't curiosity so much as a quiet attempt to understand me. "No," I replied honestly. "I usually just wander alone." "And you?" She looked at me, her eyes flashing. "Me too," she said simply, and we laughed. "You know," she continued, "I found an old map of our town online, with some strange markings. At first I thought it was a joke or some kind of fake, but the more I thought about it, the more I couldn't let it go. And I kept wondering, what if the map is real? And there's something interesting at those spots. But that's not all. I had a very strange dream before this. I dreamed that I was walking alone through the town at night, just like tonight, and from the darkness an old man came toward me carrying a lantern. His face was wrinkled, and his eyes were strange and empty. He asked something I didn't understand, and then he held out his hand and gave me the same map with the markings. The very same one I later found online. I printed it out. "Do you believe in coincidences?" she asked, looking at the map. I turned it over in my hands. No, but maybe that's exactly what makes a night memorable. We exchanged a glance, and I realized that this night would be the first of many we'd spend together, exploring the city and perhaps each other. The city I had known all my life suddenly opened up anew, through her laughter, her secrets, her presence. We walked through the town, holding the map that the old man, or at least the dream, had left for us. The streets looked familiar, yet now they seemed strange, hidden from everyone's eyes. I felt a curious thrill, as if every step carried us into a new reality where anything was possible, and at the same time, unknown. "This is like a game of hide and seek," she whispered as we descended a narrow alley between two old buildings. "Only here, there are no rules," I replied, feeling my voice tremble with excitement. We found an abandoned workshop with broken windows through which moonlight barely filtered. Inside, it smelled of oil and dust, and the floor was littered with old tools and empty cans. She stepped carefully over the shards of glass, laughing when I suddenly nudged a small can, sending it clattering loudly. "You did that on purpose?" she asked, her laughter pressing against the words. "No, or maybe just a little," I admitted, feeling a warm rush spread across my chest. Then something unexpected happened. An old poster fell from the ceiling, and we both jumped. I grabbed it and unfolded it, revealing a map of an old underground passage connecting several buildings in the city center. "Have you seen this?" I asked, my heart beating faster. She snatched the map and nodded, her eyes sparkling. "Looks like we've found something." We continued, descending narrow stairs that barely held under our weight. My hand accidentally brushed against her shoulder, and we both felt a strange, almost electric thrill. I started, but she smiled and cut me off with a light brush of her hand over mine. "Not now," she whispered, and I felt as if a whole world was hidden in those two words. The underground passage led us to a small room, its walls covered with old photographs of the city. We stood among these images, as if peering into the lives of people who had once walked these streets, and I felt a strange mix of awe and melancholy. "Strange, isn't it?" she said quietly. "Here you can forget about time." "Yeah, and about everything else too." We sat on an old bench, and in that moment I noticed her fingers brushing against mine by accident. The warmth that passed between us made my heart race. But suddenly, a distant noise broke the magic of the moment. Something or someone rustled in the darkness of the underground passage. We both flinched. I gripped her hand tighter. "Looks like we're not alone down here," I whispered. She nodded, and we carefully moved toward the exit, trying not to give ourselves away. When we stepped back into the light of the night lamps, my heart was still pounding from the adrenaline and the closeness. We looked at each other and laughed, realizing that these little fears, these unexpected moments, made the night feel even more alive. "You know," she said, holding my hand, "I never thought the city could feel so alive." "Yeah," I replied, "especially when you discover it with someone." We continued walking, and I felt as if the night was only just beginning. Every turn, every quiet little park became a place where our stories intertwined. I saw her looking at me, and I realized this wasn't just a walk. It was a moment that changed something deeper inside, something unforgettable. Then, in the middle of a small square with benches, where the lamplight fell on an old fountain, she turned to me and said, "I wish this night would never end." I never expected that a simple evening walk could turn into a real adventure. I wanted to say something, but instead our eyes met, and everything was understood without words. The city I had known all my life had become something different for both of us, mysterious, alive, full of magic and tenderness. We slowly left the underground passage. The sun hadn't risen yet, and the night city still held its cold, half-empty atmosphere. The air smelled of dampness and asphalt after the recent rain. I felt tired from walking, but at the same time, a lightness in my chest, as if the world had grown a little smaller tonight, and we had grown a little closer. I suggest we call it a night with the map for now, and save the rest for later, she said. After all, summer has just begun, and we have plenty of time. I want to stretch out this pleasure, these nighttime adventures, for as long as possible. Want to sit on the bench by the bridge? I nodded. The bridge over the river was empty, with only the soft sound of water and the occasional passing car. We sat side by side, not touching, yet the sense of closeness was real. "Do you often walk this late?" she asked, watching the moon's reflection in the water. "Rarely," I admitted. "Usually I don't get the chance. But tonight—" I trailed off, words feeling unnecessary. She turned to me and smiled. "Me too. I've never felt that the city could be like this if you just walk through it, without rushing." We sat in silence for a while, listening to the night, and it seemed to me that these moments mattered more than any words. I noticed her hands trembling slightly from the cool air, and I gently slid my jacket around her. She smiled without saying anything, but in that silent gratitude was more than words could ever express. "You know," she finally said, "I didn't expect that you could trust someone so easily in just one night. I thought it would take much longer." She laughed softly, and that laugh resonated somewhere deep inside me. I realized that this night, these little discoveries, the mix of laughter and unexpected fears, had created something more than just a walk. We got up to head back. The streets were slowly coming to life. Morning footsteps echoed, the first cafe doors opened. I felt the magic of the night fading, but the calm and warmth remained, something that words could hardly capture. "That was a beautiful night," she said as we walked side by side. "Yeah," I replied, not looking away, "and I'm glad I met you here, like this, exactly like this." She smiled, and I felt that this moment, real, unembellished, would stay with me for a long time. Our eyes met in a gaze that spoke more than words ever could, about trust, curiosity, and a quiet affection. When we parted at the intersection, I stood watching her disappear down the street toward her home. There was a sense of loss, but not sadness, more like a quiet hope that this wasn't the end, but just the beginning. I walked home, and every familiar street now looked different, a little less empty, a little more alive. A nighttime walk that began by chance had left its mark on me. The small town had grown large, not through grand events, but through tiny, unnoticed moments, shared laughter, unexpected frights, and the calm of being near another person. I knew one thing. This wasn't just a night in the city. It was a night that changed the way I saw people and the world around me. And we would surely meet again in those same alleys and little squares, rediscovering them together. For now, I just walked home, carrying a light mix of happiness and longing, knowing that the night had stayed with us, quiet, real, and unforgettable.